And we are live for another episode of the Blue Crocus Experience. Excited for this one today, guys. I've got Joseph Hughes of Contractor Dynamics. And Joseph, really excited to have you on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to hang out this Friday afternoon and chat it up a little bit.
I love it. I love it. So, guys, we'll get into who Joseph is and everything here. He'll give a little bit of an intro, but anybody who's jumping in, if you're watching this on a replay, just do hashtag replay, whatever platform you find this on. And if you are listening on the podcast, obviously leave a review. That helps us grow. But Joseph, appreciate you having you here. You and I connected. This is our first time actually connecting in person. So I'm excited to learn more about you. I've been especially interested in following some of your content, which is why I reached out to you originally. You put out a lot of content, and we'll get into what some of that is. But just give people a little bit of an intro on who you are, where you are, what you do, and we'll roll from there.
All right, cool. Yeah, content is. I mean, it's crazy. Like some people complain about social media, but like at the end of the day, to me, it's a huge net positive because you can make connections like this that you never would have made if it weren't for social media. So we have more control over that than we think. So yeah, great to connect. So I, Joe Hughes, I'm here in New Jersey at the Jersey Shore. I run Contractor Dynamics, which is a marketing training company for the construction industry. So a lot of people listening, watching might be familiar with obviously marketing agencies, all the marketers that are spamming your DMs all day and things like that. That's not us. We train companies on how to create their own content, run their own ads, do their own marketing, control their own brand. And I've been doing that since we started in 2013. So I've been doing it for 9 years. I've worked with hundreds of companies all over the country, from startups to $100 million companies and everywhere in between, just helping them build their brands and really take more control over their growth. We've got a team of 9 right now, spread out throughout the country, and we're growing and we're having fun and trying to make an impact.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, and you said you focus mainly on roofing now, but you're branching out into some other niches now, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We started in 2013. I grew up in the construction industry, so I had that background. So it started in 2013 working with well, let's be honest, anyone that would give us money, right? It's like, hey, you got money, you need a website, you need SEO, you need it's like a Chinese menu. So working with all sorts of contracting companies. And then it was 2017. We have a client, still have a client that was been a client for 9 years. 2017 introduced me to some of his buddies in the roofing industry. I ended up getting on a couple stages, working with a couple associations in the roofing industry. And it was one of those things where at the time, like, man, this is like a gigantic industry. We're a small company. Like, we can't try to serve the whole construction industry. Let's just focus on roofing for the next few years and really build out our processes and build out our case studies and get everything down. And now we feel we're at the point 5 years later where we're going out into other segments of the construction industry. So we'll be changing over our website soon. I mean, Contractor Dynamics is still the name, and that I did it intentionally so we could have that kind of breadth of experience and expertise. But yeah, it's we're branching out a little bit. So excited about that.
That's exciting. Cool. So give us a little bit of background on, you said you grew up in the construction industry. What made you move to the marketing side, aside from being out there with the tool belt on?
Yeah. Grew up in my family business. I was a 6th generation family member. So Hughes Marine Firms is a 128-year-old company and going strong today. I grew up in that business here in New Jersey and New York City. As blue collar as it gets, like welding and driving a tugboat and a forklift and operating, not so much operating a crane because you need there's a lot of liability there, but pretty much everything else. Had a lot of fun, worked in the office here in New Jersey for 9 years, learned a lot about business, about everything business, small business. And I left that business on good terms in 2012. My dad and my uncle are still the 2 owners, have great relationships with everyone. I just kind of had this itch. Any entrepreneurs out there will understand it right away. I just kind of had this itch of going out there and just, building something on my own from scratch. So I had the business background, the construction background, had and still have a passion for marketing, and just kind of combined those things and said, hey, there's a huge gap in marketing in the construction industry, so let's go try to solve some problems there. And that was the genesis of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you mentioned I love that progression, because I mean that's that I can relate to the itch, first of all, and then kind of moving into the marketing side. I'm the marketer that still has a little bit of a smorgasbord. We're getting more focused as we go into it, but websites, SEO, and ads is kind of our focus. Junk removal is probably one of our biggest niches now. Me and my business partner started a junk removal business last year, so almost a year ago now, a little over a year ago now, and so it allowed us to try a bunch of stuff that really allowed us to say, hey, we know junk removal, we can help you, right? And niching down has been so powerful. But marketing in general, I see a lot of the stuff that you put out is related to building your brand, answering the questions that people have, without just, doing the spammy thing as a company. Let's say you're a roofing company or a junk removal company or whatever the case may be. A lot of these businesses come out and they're like desperate for your business. Whereas what you're doing is building a brand. From what I've seen with some of the clients that you've worked with, is building a brand, putting marketing in behind that brand, whether it be Facebook ads or things like that. But just talk a little bit about that, and we'll dive into some of the specifics. Content is really something that I'm interested in talking about today. But talk a bit about what you guys do to help people build a brand, how people can build a brand. Obviously, it's a very big topic to talk about in just a few minutes. But talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll drill down. I mean, like that's probably the one of the most important and most difficult things that I do is like, and probably you as well, is like taking things that are kind of like complex and a lot of people don't understand because they just don't live in that world, and breaking them down into like simple, actionable steps. And I love the fact that you guys have built your own case study with the junk removal business. Like that just gives you that playground to test things out, the credibility, I'm sure. That's really cool. But yeah, as far as like, well, we focus on building a brand. Like anyone listening to this has had, the unsolicited text messages, phone calls, DMs in their inbox, like trying to sell you leads and all that sort of thing. You won't find us in your inbox. Our MO is to operate to where our prospects are in our inboxes, DMing us, being like, hey, I love your content. Love what you guys are all about. I've heard good things. I want to learn more. I want to talk. And that's when I know that that's a good validation that what we're putting out there is working. And that's what we help our clients with too, right? There's no shame in going out there and knocking doors and selling and things like that. But ultimately, we want to position ourselves as a business, as a sales rep, as a leader, whoever you are, as someone of value, of someone that's a little bit different, as of a trusted advisor, a trusted authority, a trusted problem solver, to where the right people are like, hey, you know what? That guy's got something good to say, or I see the value in what he's providing. I want to learn more about how he can help me. And whether you're a roofing company, a junk removal company, whatever that is, if you can like be that magnet and differentiate yourself to where your prospects are coming to you, that's so powerful, because then you're no longer like just another roofer or just another remodeling contractor, right? Where you're going to get beat up on price and they don't see you as any different from the other three guys who gave them quotes. Ideally, you want to be seen as someone different, like so we can command, within reason, the price that we want. And we're not going to get, price shopped, and we're going to be able to get those clients that we want. And we're going to be able to make enough profit where we can serve those clients at a high level and then get better referrals and better recommendations and repeat business and all that sort of thing. Not to say that stuff's impossible to get without marketing, but when you build a brand that people seek out and want to work with, that gives you a lot of predictability in business. Where like, okay, I know that right now is June, right? I can predict the next 3 or 4 months because we have this marketing machine to where, we're generating leads and appointments on a consistent basis. So I can go out and I can go hire some more people. I can go invest in equipment. I can go do that, sign that office lease. I can invest in training for my people. And we're really building an asset here as opposed to like just a transactional business. And so brand means a lot of things to a lot of different people. It might be your yard signs, your logo, your truck wrap, whatever it is. At the end of the day, to simplify it, at least in my terms, A brand is simply getting people to know who you are, and then ideally getting them to think positively of you before they even interact with your company, right? So that's what we help our clients build, and we can get into whatever direction you want as far as content and whatnot. But in its essence, like that's how we want our clients to position themselves as a trusted authority in their market.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I'll take this opportunity to say anybody listening too, drop a comment. We can pull the comments up on screen and Joseph can go through and answer them too. But I think something that stood out to you or to me as you were talking was you talk about clients coming to you. That's the number one thing, clients coming in and reaching out to you as the authority. And then you kind of have the, not necessarily the upper hand because that has a bit of a bad connotation, but you have the leverage. They want you. They've seen you long enough that they connect with your core values. They know, like, and trust you. I mean, it's the reason we reached out together. Like going back to your personal branding, it's the reason we're talking here today, right? So as someone, like, as a consumer, I would want to hire you if you're a roofing company because I know that you're going to take care of the job, right? I'm a busy professional. I don't want to have to be nitpicking over the little details. I literally just want you to come out. I want you to do the job right. I just want to pay the bill and I want you to go home and, to your family. And then I'm happy and I've got a new roof. Right. And then I can tell all my friends about it. Same with junk removal. I want to have that ability to just hire someone, you make the problem go away. And then, I'm good.
Yeah, for sure. I talk a lot about a lot of that in my content. Like, I'm a homeowner, right? I need to get my roof replaced. I don't need to hire the best contract like roofer in my county. Like, I don't even know who that is, right? I know some good ones, like, but how do you even quantify the best, right? Other than the fact that every roofer is advertising that they're the best. I don't want to hire the cheapest, right? What do I want? I have a business, I have a family, busy with kids, sports, and everything, which, like, a lot of people are. I want certainty, right? Like that's what people want. They want certainty that, like, Lewis's roofing company, like, they've got me, right? They're going to take care of it. They're going to make it easy. They're going to show up. They're going to, not trash my yard. They're not going to they're not going to require me to spend a lot of time in different appointments and meetings or whatever correspondence. It's just going to be a very, like, white glove, easy service. And that's what people want. And, like, that goes down into content. Like, if you can communicate that, or when you communicate that in your content in advance while people are already doing their research, then you're going to build that trust, and you're going to build up your value, because people are like, yeah, like, I don't want the cheap guy. I want the guy that's going to be a certain thing, a home run, a risk-free contractor. So that's so important, because 70% of the buying decision is made online before someone reaches out to a company for the first time. And that's not contracting, that's like all industries. But, like, think about what people are doing during that 70% of time. They're doing this, they're going through social media, they're visiting websites, they're looking at Google reviews. They're doing their research on you, whether you realize it or not. So if you're out there, like, making them feel more comfortable about their decision, their evaluation process, about the whole situation, then you're going to build up some brand equity and build up your value.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to say to clients, Amazon has taught us well. We're basically trained to, go in, we find the product we want, we scroll down through the reviews and we're like, all right, cool, looks good, buy it. I want it here like yesterday. And, then it's done, right? And we're kind of being trained that way as consumers. And so, a lot of the decision-making happens. We don't talk to a single person when we buy on Amazon. And a lot of the services that we get are becoming, I don't want to say productized. I'm sure you can take this in a bunch of different directions, but they're in such a way that, like, a roof is a roof. I need a roof done. Sure, there's little nuances, but I want my roofing company or my, in junk removal, that, every junk removal job has the same basic tenets, right? So I want someone to be able to come in and just solve the problem. Tell me what I need to do. Tell me what it's going to cost and what the timeline is going to be, and then they come and do it, and then we're good, right? So I think I see you want to say something to add it, but then we're going to move into a little bit of a workshop, I think, on, both to educate me, but also to talk to people who are listening about how do you create content. So I'll let you say, I can see you want to add something there, and then we'll roll into that.
No, I have a situation right now. It's not contracting related, but there's a guy in my Facebook Instant Messenger, actually very rarely happens, but he does. He's like I meant, we're talking about content. We're wanting to do more content. We have some great people on our team. I wanted like 10x, right? So this guy who I'm friends with on Facebook, I didn't realize I was, but he DMs me and he's like, hey, we can do your content, that sort of thing. I see your reels. And I was like, sweet, you can do, I sent him a link to one of our reels. I'm like, you do this? And he's like, yeah, I can do that. And he's asking me a bunch of questions. This is like first thing this morning, asking me some questions. I'm answering them, asking me some more questions. And it becomes apparent to me that like what I want to say to this guy, not to be condescending, but like, hey man, just send me like, do you have a package? Like, what is it? Like he's making it it's too much work for me to like engage with him. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, all right, well, does he have a process for this? Or is it just like, is he winging it? Like, so if you don't have like a defined process and you don't show that to your prospects, like, I don't know, it seems like too much work. Like, let's set an appointment for Tuesday at 2:00. Don't just say you'll call me. Like, let's just make this easy. So like with this guy, like I probably won't end up like engaging with him because it's like, I don't want to spend a bunch of mental energy trying to figure out like what he can and can't do. But if he were to send me like, hey man, for X amount of dollars, I can do 12 reels a month for you. And all you got to do is upload it in the Dropbox on the first day of every month, and I'll take care of them, and I'll send them to you by the 10th of every month, and we'll just do that month to month. I'd be like, sweet, let's do it, So it's like just having that process. Again, like Amazon has trained us all well. So that was just top of mind because that was just this morning, and I was just like, I was going to produce a piece of content about it anyway. So thanks for the platform.
I love it. I love it. If he's listening, maybe he'll pull together a little proposal for you there to wrap that conversation.
Yeah, I'll get like a little infographic. Yeah.
So I'm going to take a little tangent here because this is something I've been thinking about, obviously, as a salesperson for my business. I think I've heard people say, and I do agree that you sell how you buy, right? Or I don't think that's quite how it says, but the way you buy affects how you sell, right? And I've been studying how I buy, right? Like I want to do my research. I don't want to do a ton of research. I kind of want it to be laid out there for me. And then I just want a price and I want to know if it matches it. Whereas a lot of people, I think I want your feedback on what you think about this. A lot of people want to like as a seller, you want to engage with the person and not give a price up front because you don't want to scare them away, right? That's a common thing that we hear. You don't want to scare them away. You want to kind of pull out from them all the value that they need. And I think there's an element of that in the sales process. You need to understand truly what they need without just saying, hey, here's a toothbrush to fix your toe ache. But there is, there's an element of me as a consumer. I just want to know what I'm getting. I want to know what it costs. And that's something I've been working on with our sales process. But how do you talk to someone who says, hey, I want to talk to someone fully through the process, really get to know them, and then come up with like a custom quote? Obviously, there are industries where that applies, but like there's certainly some cut and dry stuff, especially in roofing and in some of the other industries.
Yeah, I think as far as getting around that price question at the beginning, is that kind of the essence of the question?
I think so, yeah, because like you were saying, and I would agree, sometimes I do just want the price up front.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a range, right? It's okay. I think it's cool to put a range out there. One of the companies that I cite a lot is Roof Crafters down in the Southeast, Florida and Georgia, the Carolinas. They just put out a video this week about how much does a roof cost. And so a lot of roofing companies will put out a video on YouTube like with that title, but then you watch the video and they don't actually tell you. Like basically
they just go through all the things that add up to the cost.
Yeah, they go through all the variables and it's like, well, it depends. And here are the variables. And so it depends, call us for a price, whatever. And it's like, that's such a letdown, right? Well, Roof Crafters, like they answered it and they gave ranges. They said, okay, here's what a 3-tab costs. Here's what an architectural shingle costs. Here's what designer costs. Here's what I think maybe metal it was. And like these different ranges. And that's great. Like they know that people are out there Googling that question anyway. And so why not produce a YouTube video that answers that question, gives a range. And so at least I know what I'm up against. So I think that's something that everyone can do. And I think another way in our business is like we're digital services, info products, training, that sort of thing. We don't have pricing anywhere publicly because we want to build that value, right? But I think it's like the way that you position yourself. You can even talk about it in your content, maybe the way that your website is laid out. Like it's it's geared toward like, hey, we're not the cheap guy in town, right? And I think we do a decent job of communicating that. I don't do a ton of sales for our business. We have a couple sales guys, but one of them's on vacation this week with his family. So I actually did a sales presentation yesterday for a prospect, and he hit me up in the DMs, and just like we like, and he's like, "Hey man, like, what's how much does your training program cost?" And my typical answer is, "It's true. We have a couple different options depending on what you're looking for, which we do. Let's hop on Zoom. We can go through it." So I know there's people that when I give that response to, they're like, "No, I don't want to do that because I don't want you to sell me. I don't want you to try to hardcore sell me on the phone," which is not our style, but people don't know that, right? They put their guard up and they're gone. But that's kind of like, all right, if you're interested, then let's hop on Zoom. If not, then maybe we're not a good fit. So yeah, we hopped on Zoom and you can look like, especially on Zoom or in person, you can see when someone's like ready to like go through a presentation and then hear the price. This guy was like antsy, and I could tell. I was like, I wasn't really sure if he was all in. I was like, hey man, like I can go through this. It's going to take about a half an hour to go through this, but I'll just be, upfront with you at the beginning. Like, here's what this costs. Are you still interested in talking about it? And I think like you just gotta, feel out the person, the prospect, the situation. Give them a range. It's like, hey, this is gonna cost $10,000, or this is gonna cost 1,000, or whatever it might be, just to kind of take their temperature and see if they're interested. They respect your time, you're respecting theirs, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. No, and it's a nuanced process, and I like that. Obviously, some people you're kind of testing out how interested they are, and so sometimes you'll say, okay, this is what it is, and if they come back, well, then they're really interested. But having people come to you, I think that's an interesting distinction, right? Because roof crafters, I follow. It's Dave, right?
Dave Owens, yeah.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, I follow him. I couldn't remember if it was Dave or Dale, but he puts out, if he's not crazy surfing posts, it's some pretty intense posts. So I enjoy following his stuff on Facebook. But they have a productized thing, and they're very confident in their prices, and they can put it out there because they know people are looking. You're confident in your prices too, right? And so you can just put it out there, see if someone's still going to bite. But you've built up that brand as well, so that if I want to work with you, it doesn't really matter what the price is. So I've seen what it can do for your clients, and I know that I've already built that value in my mind. So assuming the price is within a rough range that I put in my head, I'm going to jump in, right?
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's move to content specifically. So let's pick junk removal, because that's a niche that we work in. We could do marketing, because that's also a niche that I'm in. But let's say I'm a business owner and I am looking to provide value to people to build up that value for them, so that they're coming to me, so that they're reaching out. They already know that value is there, and they kind of don't really care about the price of it. There's a couple aspects. What content do you put out, and then how do you distribute it? Because you can make the best content, but I like to say, same with websites. If they don't show up, it's a beautiful brochure in your grandma's attic, right? Closet, no one sees it. So let's focus. Let's focus on the let's build some content, and then we'll move into like distribution of it.
Yeah. Let's see. So I want to frame this up in terms of like, obviously it's about the audience, not about us, but like we lead our clients through a 5-pillar process for this. So I won't go through that and bore everyone with that, but like, I'll just kind of touch on that because it is the right way to approach it. And it's never just one thing, right? It's never just like, hey, I'm going to run this like awesome Facebook ad funnel and we're just going to generate a whole bunch of leads. Like, as you know, Lewis, it's not one thing, right? You got to have, your website's got to be there. That's your storefront on the web. People are going to go check that out. Your Google reviews, what shows up in a branded search when someone's Googling your company name, is it good? Is it bad? If you haven't done that in a while as a business owner, go do that right now. Anyone who's watching or listening, because that's what your prospects are doing. Right. And it's case studies, whatever that you have out there. But as far as content, so here's a way to approach it. Number one, start with the end in mind, get crystal clear on who is your ideal prospective client, right? When we first start out in business, like I mentioned before, we'll do work for anyone that's going to give us money, right? We got to pay the bills and kind of get some traction, get some reviews. But then like as soon as possible, we need to flip that over to get really intentional about the types of clients, projects that are ideal for us, right? The ones that we can really excel at, the ones where we're making a profit, the ones where, you know, we're getting good clients, good reviews, good referrals and things like that. So get crystal clear on who those people are, because the next step in that is going to be creating content that's going to help them in their decision-making process. So there's different ways you can look at this, right? People that might be unaware of your services, or people that might be aware that they have a problem, but they're not aware of a solution. Or there's people that are solution aware, like they're aware that there are junk removal services, but they're just not sure like who to hire and like how to make that decision, right? So there's a few different ways, like a few different types of content you want to put out there. At its simplest form, to simplify this, what we recommend and what we do, what I do with our content, is just make a list of questions that your prospects and your clients in your market has about purchasing your services, right? So these are things that your sales guys are getting on a daily basis. Maybe, you know, someone in your office is answering the phone, they're fielding these questions. Maybe you have a web chat, you know, people are answering these questions or asking these questions. Well, what you can do is you can take those questions, make a list. It'll probably take you 5 minutes to make a list of 20 top questions that your prospects ask, and go shoot a video, a 2 to 4 minute video answering one question per video. And there you go. You have a video library of questions that you're answering for your market. And that's super valuable because that's stuff that, you know, people are already asking. So it's like, you know, Mrs. Jones has a question about pricing or about, you know, liability, about whatever it might be. Then you can bet that there's 1,000 other people, at least in your market, that have that same question. And they're on Google, they're on YouTube asking that question, right? So that's a great way to put out content. Now that can be video, that can be written content, it'd be a combination of the two. I definitely recommend video, getting out of your comfort zone and doing that. And then distribution, we focus mostly on social media, but I will touch on YouTube as well because it's so big. I mean, that's kind of search and social media, more search. I would take those videos, and this is what we tell our clients to do. This is what we do. Put those videos on YouTube where they're going to have an evergreen shelf life, right? Like you could post a video today about how much does junk removal in St. Louis cost, and that could be relevant for, you know, 3 years, or maybe you want to update it when prices go up or whatever. But that's going to be something that people are going to find for years to come. It's going to drive you traffic, brand awareness, leads, dollars, the whole thing. And then you can also take that content and put it on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, wherever you want. It's going to have a shorter shelf life, right? You might post something today, which is a Friday. It might be on the social media feed for a week, and it just gets buried, you know, below a whole bunch of content. So get as much mileage out of that content as you can. And then you can also use that content in your sales process, right? Like, you know, the questions that people are going to have. They're going to ask you questions in that sales process, and you'd be like, hey, you know what? We actually have a video that explains an answer to that question. Let me just send you that link right away. And that answers their question. And it also gives them the confidence that, like, you know what you're talking about because you have a video already for that exact question that they just asked. And that's super powerful as well. You know, just because you generate that. What's up?
That last point, I think I hadn't connected the dots quite there on the sales process. I mean, we can go back. There's a few things I want to pull up, but the sales process, that brings it really into clarity that you've already, you know, from a customer perspective, you've already taken the time to do that. You already know that this is a question they have. I mean, it's in sales terms, it's objection handling, right? You know, and so you're just creating that confidence in them as they go through.
Yeah, like, you know, people are going to have objections and hesitations. Like, we know that. So, like, I used to pretend I'm not really a sales guy. I'm more a marketing guy. But, like, I used to pretend that, like, I used to try to avoid those at all costs, right? Like, pretend that they won't think of the objection or the price objection, but they are, right? So, like, get out in front of it and just say, hey, you know, one of your pieces of content, like a follow-up email, be like, hey, a lot of people have questions about how to evaluate different estimates and why, you know, there's other guys that are coming in as cheaper than we are. Here's why. You know, we're not the cheapest, or, you know, whatever that might be. Yeah, I mean, that's huge. Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to pull up a couple comments here. We've got, I think it's inside a group, so you have to allow StreamYard to see your name. But someone's saying if they can't afford it, then they don't qualify as a prospect target audience for junk removal. Isn't worried about price first. They look for a professional who's insured and show up on time. Do you want to add anything to that, Joseph?
If they can't afford, they don't qualify. Yeah, I mean, when you get when you get good at what you do, it's more of a process of disqualifying your prospects, right? Like, because especially if you're marketing and they're coming to you, then like you kind of, you said you have the upper hand. I agree. I don't like to think about it in those terms either, but like you're in a position of power where you can say, no, you're not. You don't get to work with us, right? Like we're just not a good fit. And obviously, you want to say that in a nice way. But yeah, like you mentioned, this person mentioned, like, I'm just reading the screen, and short and show up on time. What is your market value? Like, what is your ideal client value? Like, do they value price? Do they value the fact that you can show up and get it done right away? We have one of my buddies who you might know from Apex, Luan Nguyen, owns a company in Omaha called Deck Bros. They build decks, and this is their first full year in business. And one of his things is that, like, all these contractors right now are so busy. Like, yeah, like, well, we're booked 2-3 months out. We can get to your deck in 3 months.
Yeah,
With Juan, he's built up his network and crews to where he's like, oh, we'll get it done in a week. And
that's
so
amazing.
that's the big value proposition, and he's killing it because he's able to deliver that in a week, where his competitors are like 3 months out. So it's, what is your market value, and cater to that.
That's huge. That's yeah. That I mean, that if you can build out a team, that's huge. I'm not familiar with him. I'll have to definitely connect with him because that's a topic all in itself. Being able to just step ahead of your competition's waiting lines.
Oh yeah, he's killing it. Look him up. He's a rising star for sure.
That's amazing. Cool. We got another comment here. Respond to clients' questions with a video. I think they're just excited about that one. That
Oh,
was a
dude,
good one.
I do a few of those a day. Right now, I mean, it is okay. Like,
Yeah.
right now in my DMs of this prospect, pretty big roofing company in the Midwest. I sent him a video. So he's a prospect of Alex, one of our sales guys. But like, what I do every day is I send at least three selfie videos to prospects, just kind of saying hello. If we can help
Like
with any
touching into the
questions.
sales process, even though it's Alex's lead,
Like,
basically.
I'm not taking over. I'm just like, hey man, if like, I know you and Alex have a line of communication open, but if you ever want to talk owner to owner, whatever, you have any questions, because what we sell is, it's a 12-month deal. It's pretty expensive. So like, it's a process.
Yeah.
But this guy writes back, he's like, man, this video is great. I'm going to immediately use this idea for clients that we're working with right now. So like, it's awesome. It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. I love that. I think a lot of us hide behind our comfort zones, and we're like, man, it's a message will work, but there's something about video. I remember I connected with someone, Josh Brown, I think it is. I don't remember if that's his last name, but through Apex, and he made an impression on me immediately by leaving a video message. He was like in the airport coming back from Mexico. He's like, "Hey man, great to connect." And even though I can't remember his last name, I know exactly. I think of him often when I think of the power of video, because there was something that hit me personally. I didn't know this guy; I just saw him interacting in the group, reached out, and then there was that added value through video messaging. I think it's
That's Yeah, it doesn't need to be fancy, just casual walking through the airport. Yeah, like we do with prospects. Every single client gets at least one video, sometimes two videos, one from like different team members to
yeah,
welcome them.
yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
Wow, I gotta use that a little bit more. Mental note to myself. All right, we got another thing here. I like what you're saying. Channeling leads sounds very wise. People always find those specific videos. I'd like to learn about funneling their personal info as well. Emails. Not quite sure what you're saying. I don't know if that's popping out to you, Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, well, just probably capturing contact info. That can be done. Yeah, definitely get their cell phone as well as email.
Yeah,
So like, emails have an open rate of like 20%, something like that. Text messages have an open rate of like over 90%. So and response rate as well. So definitely incorporate SMS as well to people that have opted into it. Don't cold text people. That's like the most annoying thing ever.
that's a
But
can of worms
yeah.
too, from a legal perspective.
Right, exactly. Yeah, can spam. But yeah, I mean, you can get their info on like a Facebook lead form if you're running lead generation ads in Facebook and Instagram, on your website. It could be a chat widget on your website. I know there's ones that have like the Facebook Messenger chat. There's others that have like text message chat.
Yeah,
But yeah, like the thing is, like, whether it's, we sell marketing training services, if you sell contracting services, whatever it is you sell, like, it's a high consideration thing, right? It's not like someone's gonna, opt in for your lead magnet today or on your website and, drop, 4 or 5 figures on your services today. Like, there's going to be a decision making process. So it's about staying in front of them with value and just being top of mind. You're a roofing contractor, someone schedules an appointment for tomorrow, Saturday, right? They might be a great prospect, great homeowner, $20,000 roof. For whatever reason, they're just not ready to sign a contract. Maybe they need to get the money together. Maybe they're just too busy. They're looking at other options. But guess what? September comes, the kids are back to school, and husband and wife are like, all right, we finally have time to get that roof done. Like, let's figure out, like, who was that guy we met back in June? Like, oh, I don't know, I forget. But if you're staying in front of them, with like dripping out content and value and checking in, you're going to be top of mind when they're ready to make that decision. And so much business is lost just because people they don't have a system to stay in front of people that aren't ready to buy, like, today.
Yeah. No, I think the point there of staying in front of them, they're going to forget about you. They're going to remember you and how you made them feel, but they're going to forget your name. And if you keep showing up, they're like, oh yeah, that guy, Joseph, he has a roofing company or a junk removal company, and we got to get that. Sally, let's give him a call, right? There's I think an interesting thing I'm thinking from a perspective of junk removal specifically. I talk a lot about going into buy and sell and yard sale groups for junk removal, right? People are always trying to get rid of stuff. There's a state sales that are happening, so you can pop a comment on there. But if you came in those groups, and I think this would work for roofing, for remodeling, for junk removal, if you come in and you leave a video, talking through a question that people often have, you're not selling, but you're building that authority, and it's there, for when people search for your type of service later on too, right? There we go. I can't hear you yet, but I can see you again. Don't panic. We just anybody who's listening on the podcast, we just had a slight glitch. I'll probably edit it out here. I can't hear you yet. Might be on my end. Let me just check.
No, it's my end. Got me now?
There we go. Yep, loud and clear.
All right, my bad. So switch over. Yeah, don't be the guy selling in Facebook groups for sure. But yeah, drop value. I mean, I do it every day. Drop value in groups. Do it in your local Facebook groups, and yeah, don't sell. Just add value. Before and afters, that could be a good one too. Just drop those and make it a habit of it. Don't just do it once and be like, oh, I didn't get any leads from it. This doesn't work. Like, do it on a weekly basis and just become known as the guy or the girl or the company that solves that problem. So that next time someone in that group is asking for, like, hey, a junk removal company, like, oh yeah, Lewis is always posting yeah, call that guy. Like, they might have no idea who you are, but they just see you, like, sharing content and dropping value. And yeah, top of mind is tip of tongue.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Top of mind is tip of tongue. I don't think I've heard that strung together. So we're actually getting to the end of our time here, in about 10 minutes. But to someone, you brought up a good point there. So the posting and not seeing immediate return. That's something that I hear a lot of. That's something that I think anybody who's putting out content, it nags you at some point along the journey, whether it's just starting or you're like, man, I've been putting it out and I'm not seeing an immediate measurable return from content. I know when I stop being consistent with my content, the pipeline gets a lot drier. But when I'm consistently putting out content, it's this magical effect. They don't necessarily come in off of those particular pieces of content, but the inbox just starts being flooded with people that said, hey, I saw you here, or I see you all over the groups, or this or that. So what do you say to someone? I mean, I kind of just said it a little bit, but what do you say to someone who is not married to the idea of, hey, let's just get a consistent posting schedule in groups, in maybe it's Nextdoor, maybe it's on YouTube, maybe it's on LinkedIn, but what do you say to someone who's like not completely bought into the idea of just being consistent with that content?
Back.
We're back. Yep.
All right. So you can trust Lewis, trust myself, you got to trust the process. But here's what I say to that. All right. Think you're on social media for however long you are per day. The average American adult's 2 hours. Think about how many pieces of content you've seen today on social media, and think about how many you have engaged with. That means like, comment, share, send someone a DM. If you've seen 1,000 pieces of content today, you probably engaged with like 10 of them. That's 1%. All right. So
Yeah.
think about that with your own content. Like only 1% of people that see that content maybe get value out of it are actually engaging with it. So again, you have to trust the process. And then, like Lewis said, like it happens all the time. People reach out like, yeah, I've been watching your content for a while. The sales call I had yesterday, I've never heard, like, I don't say this to sound like a big shot, but I've never heard of this guy in my life. And he's been following our content for a while. And it's just like, that's just human nature. That's how people are. As long as you're putting out valuable content and it's, you're getting clear on your ideal prospective client, you understand their frustrations, the questions that they're having, you're answering those questions, then it will pay off.
Something that I've seen to add to that is, I mean, you mentioned it there, but some of my best clients has come from people who have never once visibly interacted with my content. They've never left a comment. They've never left a like or a love or shared it or anything. And then they just randomly message me in one day and they're like, hey, I'm ready to go. What does it take? Can we get on a call? And I'm like, where did you come from? Like what happened? and it's like you gotta warm me up here. But they just jump in, they're ready, right? And they're ready to go.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it happens every week with us, and we're so grateful for that because like we've been doing this for 9 years, and I can trust the process because I know it works, right? If you're just starting out, like I just have to trust me or trust Lewis or whatever. But yeah, it's so true. Yeah, it happens all the time.
I love it.
Cool. And also, like Lewis, like there's people that are going to, it might not be your next client, right? That you're getting in front of. It might be a realtor. It might be, another, business owner that can throw you business or that you can collaborate with, like things like Lewis and I right now. Like we're not, paying each other money. Like I'm not a customer of his, he's not a customer of mine, but we're collaborating and providing value and things like that and tapping into one another's audiences. So like, as a local contractor, do the same thing with other people in your sphere of influence as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna touch on one thing and then we'll move into a couple of fire questions here that I like to give guests. Don't get too nervous. It's nothing hard. But to the effect of tapping into other people's markets. One of the things that we did really well with the junk removal business was we did giveaways. So I did restaurant gift card giveaways, and I basically got them to comp the gift card. Give us the gift card, and I said we'll run the same amount of whatever the gift card value is, we'll put that behind our giveaway in ad spend on Facebook. And so we kind of shared it that way. It gave them some exposure, and then it really helped us because everybody likes food, right? And so our thing was, comment for people, and we'll choose a winner. But that really started to solidify us in the market because we were building off of restaurants that everybody liked, knew, loved, trusted, and had seen around forever. So it's building on each other's audience. Obviously I appreciate having you on here because I'm learning and also sharing a little bit in your audience, but there's so much value in doing that as business owners if you can.
100%. Yeah. And then with local businesses, very few local businesses like know how to do marketing, right? So it's like you're going to them, the restaurant or the chiropractor or whatever, like with such a value proposition. You're like, hey, I'm going to market your business for you. Just give me a gift card and I'll take care of the rest. Like they're like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's a win-win for everybody. Awesome. Well, this has been really enjoyable for me. I know a couple clients or prospects that I'm going to hop on and do a video right after we get off here. Follow up Friday, right? But 2 questions. One, what would you recommend? As a business owner, obviously there's development and whatnot. I'm very much a proponent of reading books and learning from them. What are your top 3 favorite books that just jump into your mind that you've read around business or development?
Number 1 is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. It is how I run my life and my business. Like it's my top book of all time. Another one here that I really like is The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, who is
Oh,
well known
I've heard of
for.
that.
Yeah, everyone knows Start With Why, Simon Sinek, but Infinite Game is incredible, especially if you're building a business or a charity or cause or something like that, like long term. And then the third book, let's see, I love the Road Less Stupid.
Oh,
I forget
I
that
like it.
author. Yeah, it's basically a whole book of like really good questions, especially for a business owner, that you should ask yourself, like basically asking better questions to solve bigger problems. So those are top three for sure.
Those sound phenomenal. I've heard of the Slight Edge and read part of it. My slight edginess did not carry through to reading the whole thing, but it's on my finish up list. But I'll check out the other two. I really liked the Slight Edge, so it'll come back into the finish up pile. And then the second question is to someone in business. You've been in this particular business for 9 years. What is something that you would say to someone who's just starting out? From looking back, obviously we gave some things on content and whatnot, and just keep going and keep pushing. But looking back at you when you were starting 9 years ago, what would you tell yourself, or what would you tell someone starting out?
That's an easy one. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. The first 3 years in business, I did, and I was like, oh, my business model is unique. This is 2013. Like, I don't want to sound like it's a stone age, but it's social media isn't or wasn't what it is now, right? There wasn't like a lot of like forums and groups and masterminds and things like that. So I was like, this unique business model, like I need to figure out all these different parts by myself, and like I struggled the first few years. Like it was really business is always a struggle, but like unnecessarily, right? I got my first business coach, Tim, in 2015. I joined his program. And then from there, I was like, oh, there's all these other people that like go through the same things I do. They might have different businesses, but like it's the same stuff, right? So why not? Life is too short to make all the decisions we need to, or make all the mistakes that we need to make on our own. So why not, leverage some of the mistakes and experiences of others to build greater things, right? We only have one life to do this. So I've been a big fan of that ever since. Coaches, masterminds, mentors, reading books, like whatever it is, doesn't have to be something you're investing a lot of money into, but just like learn from the experiences of others, because there's common business principles that every business has. So that's easy number one for me.
That's huge. I love that. And it comes down to compressing time, right? It's you can bumble around and you can think you're the best at what you do, but there's always someone that's gone further and faster than you.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Joseph, this has been absolute blast. I've learned a lot. I hope that people listening now, as we went through live and listening, if you're listening to the replay, hope you got a ton of value out of this. Appreciate you. Where can people find you, and how can they connect with you best? What's your favorite channel for connection?
Let's see. Well, website contractordynamics.com. Personally, my go-to channel is Facebook. So look Joseph Hughes on Facebook, and I'm posting content every morning, at least a couple times a day. So there's a lot of I think decent stuff on there.
I love it. I would agree. I love it. Well, this has been a pleasure. Stick around. We'll wrap up the show, but stick around. We'll just sign off here briefly before we both head off on our Fridays.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me, man. This was awesome.
Awesome, guys. Connect with Joseph, show him some love, and get out there and start making some content. All right. Till next time.